Today, we're going to talk about America's gentle giant, the Maine Coon. And its story, well, it doesn't start in some barn in New England. No, it starts in a palace with a secret that you've almost certainly never been told. So, picture this. It's 1793. We're right in the middle of the French Revolution. Blood in the streets, the Queen, Marie Antoinette, is locked up, and she is staring down the guillotine. But there's a whisper of an escape plan, a crazy, daring plot to get her out of France and all the way to the rugged coast of Maine. All right, let's really get into this legend because it is a great story. It's so romantic, and it has stuck around for so long that for a lot of people, it's become a huge part of the breed's identity. And it all centers on this failed plot to bring the Queen to a tiny little town in Maine, all set up by an American sea captain. Now, the real key to this whole legend is the cargo. The story goes that Captain Samuel Clough packed his ship, the Sally, with all the Queen's finest things for her new life in America. But, well, the plot failed. The Queen never made it. Her 6 beloved Turkish Angora cats, though, they did. The legend says they were let loose in Maine, they bred with the local cats, and started a whole new royal feline dynasty. It's a fantastic story, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to believe it? But is any of it actually true? This is where we have to pivot. We're going to move away from the folklore and really start fact-checking this royal secret. And you know, this is probably why the legend is so powerful. It has a real physical place you can point to, a house that's still standing today, right there overlooking the Sheepscot River. For centuries, people have said, look, there's the proof, the home they were getting ready for the Queen. But, oh man, the timeline tells a totally different story. The house was built way back in 1774, long before the Revolution even kicked off. And get this, it was on a completely different island. But here's the real nail in the coffin. It wasn't moved to that famous spot until 1838, decades after everyone in the story was long gone. So the house just plain could not have been prepared for her. And what's really interesting here is you start to see a pattern. The Queen seems to attract these stories about her pets. The tale of her 6 Angoras? There's really no evidence for it. But that story about her pug, Mops, being torn from her arms at the border, we know for a fact that's a total fabrication that came from a modern movie. It kind of suggests the 6 cats probably fall into that same bucket of romantic invention. So, this is the big question, isn't it? If we take away the French royalty and the dramatic escape plots and all the tragedy, what's left? What is the real origin story of this amazing American cat?
Okay, now let's turn to the science. We're going to trade in the romantic story for the hard evidence of genetics and evolution.
And you know what? The real story is honestly way more impressive. The Maine Coon wasn't bred by kings and queens. It was literally forged by Mother Nature. Just think about it. Natural selection in action. Of all the different cats that came over on ships to New England, only the biggest, the toughest, the best hunters with the thickest, most weather-resistant coats could have survived those brutal winters to pass on their genes. And the genetics absolutely confirms this. The DNA analysis is the final word. There's no special link to French cats or Turkish cats. The Maine Coon's closest relatives are just the regular domestic cats from the United Kingdom. Their family tree doesn't lead back to a French palace. It leads back to a Puritan's ship. But okay, that brings up another obvious question. If they're not from France, why do they look almost exactly like the Norwegian forest cat? Well, the answer is this really cool scientific idea called convergent evolution. So, to survive in a really cold place, the Maine Coon basically developed a specific toolkit, right? You need a big body to hold in heat, a thick, shaggy coat that's water-resistant, little tufts on your ears and paws for extra insulation, and these big, wide paws that act like snowshoes. And now, take a look at the Norwegian forest cat. It evolved thousands of miles away, totally separate, but because it had to deal with the same freezing cold climate, it developed the exact same set of tools. It's the same list. They're not related by blood, they're related by necessity. Nature just found the perfect solution for surviving the cold, and it found it twice. But the secrets don't actually stop with where they came from. The Maine Coon has this whole other dramatic American history all its own. A story of incredible fame, then near total collapse, and then an amazing comeback. Just look at this roller coaster of a timeline. In 1895, a Maine Coon named Cozy was the talk of the town, winning Best Cat in New York City. But then, just a few years later, these fancy, exotic Persian cats show up, and suddenly the homegrown Maine Coon seemed, I don't know, old-fashioned? Their popularity just tanked so fast that by the 1950s, people actually thought the breed was extinct. And this is where we find the real heroes of the story. The people who rescued this breed weren't queens or sea captains. They were just regular Americans. These three women and others who joined them in the Central Maine Cat Club started this grassroots movement in the 50s. They wrote the first breed standards and put on shows, all to bring their native cat back from the brink. And that brings us to the final hidden secret of the Maine Coon. And this one isn't about the past. It's a controversy about the breed's very identity, and it is still going on today. See, a huge number of those original farm-bred Maine Coons had extra toes. It's called polydactyly. And this wasn't some kind of defect, it was a feature. Those wider paws were basically built-in snowshoes, helping them get around in the deep Maine snow. It was a functional, adaptive trait. And we're not just talking about a rare quirk here. Some estimates say that as many as 40%, 40, of the original Maine Coon population had these special paws. It was a huge part of who they were. But when the breed was being polished up for the show ring, this trait was called a defect, and it would get you disqualified, probably just so they could fit in with other breed standards. And this table just lays out the modern-day fight perfectly. Some groups, like Tikka, now totally accept it as part of the breed's history. But others, like the really powerful CFA, still won't let them compete for championships. And some big European groups have banned them completely. So when you put it all together, the story we're left with is so much better than the myth. This isn't a cat that came from French royalty. It's a breed that was shaped by tough American winters and then saved from disappearing forever by passionate, dedicated American cat lovers. And it really leaves us with this one last thought. This whole fight over the extra toes makes you ask a really basic question. What actually defines a breed? Is it the original tough functional traits that helped it survive in the first place? Or is it the pretty polished standards that we create for the show ring? It's a question the cat world is still fighting about today.